Welcome back to the Next Door channel, Yellowstone fans. The wild, untamed heart of Montana is calling once more, and with it, the hidden chapters of the Dutton family legacy are about to be unearthed. Before the sprawling cattle empire and the modern-day battles we know so well, there existed a crucible of fire, blood, and fate. The Duttons did not inherit the land, they conquered it, and the price of that dominion is etched in every stone, every grave, and every scar. Spanning from the roaring 1920s through the wartime shadows of the 1940s, this is the untold chronicle of how the Yellowstone dynasty was forged in chaos. Long before the modern ranch emerged, a generation of Duttons clawed their way through the darkest decades in American history: Prohibition, the Great Depression, and World War II years that would test not only their strength but their souls. Between 1923 and 1994, the Dutton family faced more than enemies on horseback. They faced the disintegration of society itself. Their empire, carved out of sacred land and blood-soaked soil, was under siege from ruthless adversaries, legal upheaval, and their own fractured loyalties. It was a time when survival demanded not just grit, but ruthless adaptation. At the heart of it all stands Jacob Dutton, Harrison Ford, a stern but steady patriarch, and his indomitable wife Cara Dutton, Helen Mirren, a woman as capable with a ledger as she is with a rifle. Together, they hold the Yellowstone together through drought, corruption, and all-out war with outlaws and opportunists. One of those is the ambitious and remorseless mining magnate Donald Whitfield, who seeks to steal the ranch out from under the Duttons' boots, buying judges, pressuring banks, and spilling blood to get what he wants. Then comes tragedy: John Dutton Sr. James Badge Dale, the heir apparent, is gunned down in cold blood by sheep herders led by Banner Creighton, igniting a war between ranchers and rustlers. His death fractures the family. His wife, Emma Marley Shelton, devastated by grief, takes her own life, leaving their young son Jack Dutton, Darren Mann, to shoulder a legacy he is not yet ready to bear. But the Dutton saga is never linear. It's layered with secrets, betrayals, and generational echoes. Across the ocean in Africa, Spencer Dutton, the family's haunted war veteran, is pulled home just in time to fight off Whitfield's final assault on the ranch. The year is 1993, and the Yellowstone is under siege once again. In a climactic, blood-soaked shootout, Jack Dutton is mortally wounded defending his land. Spencer arrives too late to save him, but just in time to end the violence. Spencer inherits more than just land, he inherits the future. Left alone with a newborn son, John Dutton II, after the heartbreaking death of his wife Alexandra during childbirth, Spencer becomes a reluctant father and steward of the ranch. Together with the unbreakable Cara, they rebuild Yellowstone from the ashes. The years that follow are unforgiving. As the Great Depression descends, Montana is swallowed by dust storms, failing crops, and despair. Spencer leads harrowing cattle drives across barren landscapes teeming with thieves and the desperate. The Duttons are forced into precarious alliances with the Broken Rock tribe, whose sacred lands are under threat, and with politicians whose hands are as dirty as their deals. Every decision exacts a cost. Meanwhile, in Boston, Jack's widow Elizabeth raises their son James in luxury and secrecy, concealing the truth of his Dutton heritage. Her choice creates a dangerous rift in the family's future, a rift destined to explode decades later. Back in Montana, John II comes of age under Spencer's grim tutelage. He watches his father dispense brutal justice to those who threaten their land. By the time World War II breaks out, John II is a hardened young man, one who trades his saddle for a rifle when he enlists in the Marines. With him gone, Yellowstone is once again exposed. Spencer, now aged and weary, faces one last battle to protect the ranch. In a final, defiant stand, he dies in a hail of bullets, shouting with his dying breath that the Yellowstone must never fall. John II returns from the Pacific Theater changed, haunted by what he saw, but fiercely committed to the legacy left behind. He marries, fathers John Dutton, III, and attempts to restore a semblance of peace to the ranch. But peace was never the foundation of the Dutton Empire. Unbeknownst to him, his cousin James, raised in privilege, yet burdened by resentment, has returned, ready to lay claim to the land that was his birthright. The war for Yellowstone is not just about land. It's about bloodlines, secrets, and survival. From Prohibition to Pearl Harbor, from betrayal to legacy, the Duttons are shaped by conflict. The Yellowstone we know today did not rise from peace. It was born from an explosion, and that explosion is about to echo through generations. This is not just a prequel. This is the origin story of power itself. By 1994, everything was in place for the next Great Dutton War, which was the culmination of decades of bloodshed, betrayal, and buried secrets. Generations of people who fought hard to keep the land, but also tore each other apart in the process, had shaped the Yellowstone to a greater or lesser extent. The tumultuous, agonizing years between 1993 and 1994 left their mark on history, which spanned 70 years. The Dutton family was forged in that crucible, tempered by fire, loss, and unwavering survival. It was a tale of grit, sacrifice, and a brutal determination to endure rather than one of honor or peace. When Spencer Dutton, a soldier haunted by the horrors of the First World War and the trenches in France, returned from Africa in 1923, the events of that time began. Carnage, not peace, was what he would find when he got back home. The family ranch in Yellowstone was under siege from power-hungry adversaries and avaricious rivals. The conflict did not end with Spencer's return. Rather, it sparked a firestorm. Hired gunmen stormed the ranch in an ambush planned by Donald Whitfield, a cruel man. Jack Dutton, Spencer's nephew, was shot and killed in cold blood. That split second became a fable. Spencer held Jack's dying body in his arms amid the chaos, letting blood seep into the ground. In a final stand that reverberated throughout the valley, he then rose and, with nothing left to lose, killed 6 of the attackers. However, victory came at a high cost. During those trying times, Spencer's wife Alexandra was also lost, and her death added another burden to his life. Spencer Dutton ruled the Yellowstone with unwavering authority from that point forward. Every decision was influenced by his grief and trauma. Justice became swift, often cruel. Before a trial could be called, cattle rustlers and land thieves were at the end of a rope. His son John Dutton grew up observing this menacing rule of law. His father taught him the first and most important lesson: the land needs blood. Elizabeth, Jack's widow, took their son James east to Boston, away from Montana's violence and legacy. She raised him in secret and comfort, never disclosing his true lineage. She did this by sowing a seed that would eventually bear fruit and cause a storm. The Great Depression followed. Montana was hit like a sledgehammer by it. The pastures were suffocated by dust storms. Drifters who were starving walked the streets. Spencer led cattle drives through hostile terrain during these trying years, wagering on every mile. The Yellowstone became a fortress and a haven. The uneasy alliance between the Broken Rock tribe and the Duttons was put to the test when wealthy mining companies attempted to seize sacred land. John Dutton, Spencer's son, who was growing up in the midst of the conflict, witnessed his father's retaliation firsthand. 2 ranch workers were killed. Spencer swiftly expelled an entire squatter settlement from the land as a response. Spencer told his son, "Mercy kills you." Keep in mind that John Dutton joined the Marines as the world edged closer to another war. It was his own personal fire trial. He survived one of World War II's bloodiest campaigns on the island of Guadalcanal, where he faced daily death. In 1994, he went home altered, hardened, and carrying ghosts that no one could see. In the same year, the last of Whitfield's men ambushed Spencer, who was now old and still suffering from battle wounds. He handed the torch to his son as he lay dying. As time passed, he whispered, "Don't let them take it no matter what," with blood on his lips. The next chapter began as a result. More than just land, John Dutton, also had a legacy of violence. He got married, and he and his wife Claire had a son named John Dutton, III. However, despite the birth of new life, an old truth resurfaced. That winter, a letter with a Boston postmark arrived. The writing was delicate and eventually lost its luster. Elizabeth, Jack's widow, sent it. She was dying after 20 long years. Additionally, she had finally told James the truth. He hadn't lost his father in an accident. He was killed while standing up for Yellowstone. James was sparked to action by the information. He carefully packed his army duffel at Fort Benning, Georgia, tracing the Dutton logo on the letter that had shattered his identity. He was lying about everything he thought he knew. His parents gave him Yellowstone, a piece of land. And he would get it back. Snow blanketed the hills in Montana like a shroud. Standing over Spencer Dutton's grave, John Dutton, II, could smell his father's breath in the chilly air. Jacob Dutton, Spencer's uncle, was buried next to a second headstone. Through bullets, blood, and obeisance, the two men had established an empire. Claire rocked their newborn by the fire inside the ranch house. The approaching storm was blocked by the fireplace's warmth. John loaded a Colt .45, the same gun Spencer had carried, and put it in his desk drawer in his study. The past was breathing on him. He could feel it. His coat-pocketed letter contained more than just paper. It was a prediction. Now your cousin understands the truth. He intends to take what is his. Old Chief Thomas Rainwater stirred a dying fire across the land at the Broken Rock Reservation. He sat next to his grandson, also named Thomas. The older man spoke softly. The white man's war may be ending. However, their war for this land will never end. We should be prepared. There will be a seventh generation. As if listening to the earth breathe, he extended his hand to it. The land recalls. The train whistle reverberated across the frozen plains east of Billings. James Dutton froze in the icy air as he stepped onto the platform. His duffel bag was carried over his shoulder. A Colt revolver, a replica of the one John now kept ready, was concealed in his pocket. The final chapter that ran from 1993 to 1994 was written with blood and legacy. However, this was only the beginning's end. The Dutton rivalry was by no means over. The battle for Yellowstone for land, legacy, and survival itself was ready to erupt once more as the seventh-generation prophecy loomed over the mountains and snow-covered graves. The story goes on, and it only gets more intense. You won't want to miss a single second of the Yellowstone journey that lies ahead, so hit the subscribe button like you're riding into battle. This story is far from over, with stunning landscapes and family disputes shaking the ranch to its foundation. Allow notifications so that you can be the first to see every turn, betrayal, and victory. The legacy is ferocious, the land is sacred, and every moment matters. Let's discuss, should James or John II stake a claim to the legacy of Yellowstone? Is it right that the future should be decided by loyalty, forged through hardship and fire? Or is it necessary for the bloodline, or birthright, to prevail? Who exactly is deserving of the Yellowstone estate? If you have any thoughts, please share them with us in the comments section. Your input is important to this legacy. Keep in mind that the past is not just history, rather, it is prophecy. The Dutton clan? Oh, they haven't finished yet. Not in the slightest. Follow us on Nextdoor and remain a part of the conversation for additional insider stories, updates, and crazy theories. Don't just watch the upcoming chapter. Instead, read it. Embrace it